Well, welcome everybody to the National Day of Compassion on this Sunday, the 21st of September, 2025. Thank you for everyone who's joined us across the country and across the globe uh, with this year's theme, Compassion in Action. One could think it's never been more called for, but um, we really want to come together today uh, to share so many examples and uplifting stories of compassion in action. I'm going to be your MC for this opening hour, where we're going to hear from a number of um, fellow travellers on the compassion journey in the lead into this day of compassion. And I'll just be your MC for this first hour. And it's my pleasure as a member of the Australian Compassion Council um, to uh, be emceeing this first hour and kick it off, if we can, with a welcome to country from Nathan Tyson. Nathan, thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Yama, in my language. My name's Nathan Tyson. I am an Aboriginal person of Anawan descent. I live on Darug country in Western Sydney at the foot of the Blue Mountains, and I'm a member of the Uniting Church in Australia. As we gather today on the many lands of this planet, we acknowledge Indigenous peoples around the world, who we may know as First Peoples, First Nations peoples, Aboriginal peoples, or perhaps by their unique names, for example, the Anawan, the Wiradjuri, the Inuit, the Cherokee, the Sioux, or the Sami people. We acknowledge the impact of colonisation and related colonial ideologies of white supremacy on many Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the harm to country and harm to people that has occurred over many centuries. We acknowledge the grief and trauma caused through the taking of land and the diminishing of the humanity of Indigenous peoples, as Western values of individualism, greed, and wealth creation have taken precedence over Indigenous values of respect for Mother Earth and obligations to family, community, and the environment. We acknowledge those Indigenous peoples who continue to struggle for recognition of their humanity, of their sovereignty, and of their right to live in self-determined ways according to their own spiritualities, laws, values, and worldviews. We pray that the beauty of humanity, our capacity for empathy and compassion, and our ability to show care and kindness will lead to justice, prosperity, and equality of respect for all human life and for all of creation. We acknowledge and thank all Indigenous peoples for their care of country, their care of the land, and care for all other life that shares our planet. Only taking what is needed, living sustainably, and providing a blueprint for how to approach the very real impacts of climate change and global warming. We can heal the planet and fix our relationship with creation if we accept that Western cultures and worldviews are not the only cultures and worldviews that exist. We need to focus on living well, in place, and ensuring all have enough, rather than focusing on what somebody else has over there and how I can take it for myself. We need to focus more on compassion, on our human obligation to care for others, or in Christian terms, on loving our neighbour as ourselves, rather than just demanding that others respect our individual rights. I again acknowledge and pay respect to the knowledges and wisdoms held by Indigenous peoples around the world. We acknowledge that wherever we may be, the land we are on is sacred, and we thank those who have cared well for the complex, tangible, and spiritual interconnections and interdependencies that are required for a flourishing human existence. Thank you.
Thanks kindly, Nathan. That's a wonderful welcome to country and a walking on country reminder of the sacredness that comes with this compassion for country, for the earth, for the planet and its peoples, and really appreciate the sentiment behind everything you've shared with us this morning. I'll
Thank you.
now turn to Terry for Terry Ayling, the lead of the Australian Compassionate Council, to just give us an introduction for what lies ahead today.
Thank you, Jeff, and welcome everybody. On behalf of Hugh, Mackay, the Compassion Ambassador for Australia and globally, Marilyn, Turkovich, our Executive Director of the Charter for Compassion globally, and the Australian Compassion Council, myself, Terry Ayling as lead, Michael Bartura, Joanna Giannis, Gwen Pennington, Jeffrey Woolcock, our MC, Dr. Debbie Lynne from our healthcare sector, Bishop Philip Huggins from Religion, Interfaith, Spirituality and Environment sector, and Madonna Quixley from our Peace sector. We welcome you to this 5th National Day of Compassion. We're very excited this year to be partnering in this National Day with our Global Compassion Coalition partners, led by Maureen Sansom, who is the GCC Compassionate Connectors, Community Connectors National Lead here in Australia. As we begin, we wanted to acknowledge the significant contribution to our national days and the work of the Charter for Compassion of Dr. Lynne Reader, our inaugural Australian Compassion Council lead, who retired at the end of last year. We also want to acknowledge Dr. Mark Crosweller, who retired during the course of this year, and others who are currently experiencing ongoing health issues and grief and bereavement. We continue to hold them warmly in our thoughts and prayers. The Charter for Compassion in Australia began with the inspiration of Dr. Lynne Reader, who attended the Compassionate Minds Conference in the United States. In 2018, Lynne and I were privileged to be able to travel to the Festival of Faiths in Louisville, Kentucky, and then to attend the Parliament of World Religions in Toronto, Canada, where we launched the aspiration of Australia, a continent for compassion. It has always been our commitment as an Australian Compassion Council to honour our connection with Australia's First People, and by using the term dreaming to connect with the deep dreaming of this land and its peoples spanning 60,000 years. In so doing, we acknowledged that our first peoples were peaceful people. They lived in relationship to the land and with each other. And their inspiration, their welcome to place, to country, and to communities models the hospitality and the kind of compassion that we want to continue with. The Australian Compassion Council's commitment to First Nations people was evident in 2023 with our support of the Voice referendum in a variety of ways, and particularly our document, The Why of the Voice. In 2024, on our National Day, we interviewed Katie Kiss, the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner, and we noticed that since the loss of the referendum, that despite that sadness, we and many others continue to walk together with First Nations people with the aspiration of telling the truth and working for treaty and for justice. This year, we acknowledged the progress that's been made in the Victorian government with their truth-telling and treaty process, but we also grieve the fact that that has not happened in other states, including my own in Queensland. The Australian Compassion Council has sought to align its work to the 5 Indigenous mindsets of Dr. Tyson Yunkaporta, as expressed in his book, Sand Talk, to adopt a kinship mind, a story mind, a dreaming mind, an ancestor mind, and a pattern mind. This is our 5th National Day of Compassion. In 2021, our theme was Deep Dreaming, a Continent for Compassion, which remains our aspiration despite many challenges. In 2022, our theme was deep listening, where we tapped into the nature of Didiri and the many spiritual traditions that lead us to be present and to listen deeply to one another. In 2023, our theme was deep wisdom. And we see as an Australian Compassion Council that an understanding of our common humanity opens us to expressions of compassionate action which need to be expressed with deep wisdom. In 2024, our connection with the land and with one another was our aspiration, with the theme Deep Connection. And this year, our theme of compassionate action emphasises the notion that the science of compassion and the aspiration of compassion needs to be lived out in every day, in every life, and in every community across our continent. As I said, this is the first time our National Day has been held in collaboration with the Global Compassion Coalition. And through the day, you'll hear stories of many organisations, including the work of the GCC Community Connectors Program, the Compassionate Communities Network, and Stan, who's with us with his Compassion in a T-shirt program, and you'll hear from him a little later. This National Day invites all Australians to take time to pause and reflect. It provides us with the opportunity to give attention to the many meaningful acts of compassion that are occurring across Australia. And in so doing, the Australian Charter also honours the work of the Global Charter for Compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And thank you for that wonderful introduction to this year's theme of compassion and action, and making that connection, the deep connection of the theme of 2024, and setting the scene for the amazing day that awaits us. I'll keep with the momentum in the same vein, if you like, from the global perspective, and ask Marilyn Turkovich, the Executive Director of the Global Charter for Compassion, to share her thoughts in compassionate action across the globe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you. Let me say I'm very glad to be here. And I have prepared a few slides. I was asked to do a little bit of an overview of what's going on with the Charter for Compassion. And I guess that is a really difficult thing to do in a few minutes. However, as you might guess or know already, that the Charter started in 2009. It was launched at the United Nations, and one of the first calls to action came from Australia, the Parliament, where the Charter for Compassion was endorsed on the very day that it was launched. And then it was also launched at the Sydney Opera House. So there's a really close connection between the Charter for Compassion and Australia. And one of the things that I might mention over the years since 2009 to the present time is that we've developed hubs around the world. We have one in India, in Pakistan, in the UK, the United States, Canadians for Compassion, and it goes on, Indonesia. And one of the real goals of the Charter is to work closely with cities to help facilitate compassion in action, to determine what is it that's needed in a city. How is it that local government and grassroots people come together and steward and bring about the necessary changes in which we're involved. And then the second charge of the Charter for Compassion is compassion education. And I'll just talk about that right up front, because one of the things that the Charter is committed to, and it's going to start in October, and we do have some scholarship money for this, is that we are committed to building cadres of people in our hubs who would become trainers of cognitive-based compassion training. This is a training of neuroscience and meditation techniques that are for all people, but especially what we're looking for over this next month when we start. We have 4 sessions going, and there's a time that's really conducive to Australia. And we're hoping that we will find at least 15 good people who want to say, not good, I shouldn't have said that, but 15 people who are committed to saying, you know, I think that I would like to be a trainer of this kind of material. Because it's going through Emory University. The program has been around for 15 years. It has been really financed by the Dalai Lama. And it is, in fact, there's going to be a big launch at the end of this month of not only compassionate-based training, the cognitive-based training, but for educators, for business people, for healthcare workers as well. But then also a reestablishment of C-learning, which is a social emotional learning program for young people from elementary school through high school. So we're looking for people. You can, for all of the things I'm going to talk about, you can go to the homepage of the Charter for Compassion, and you can just click on the subject area, and it'll take you and give you all kinds of information. This is an intensive program. The introduction program is just the start. And then after that, you would go into an advanced train the trainer program, which is another 10 weeks of training, and then a practicum that is associated with it. So it's not a short program. So we want people who are really committed to saying, we'd like to really bring this to our own location in the globe. So that's something that we're really involved in. The second thing, and I hope that all of you will be able to attend, we started this last year. We had for 2 days, 500 young people from around the world and seasoned people like many of us who are here today. But all of the panels, all of the presentations, all of the keynotes are coming from people who are under the age of 35. And it will be a 3-day conference, and it's in conjunction with Kids' Rights in the Netherlands. And we're looking for, you know, a big group of people. And if you are in a position to spread the word about the Global Youth Conference, please do. I think you can even go back to last year's panels and presentations and take a look so that you know how exciting it really is to have that. The other thing is that on November 12th, and I had mentioned that the charter was launched November 12th, 2009 at the UN. And so on November 12th, 2025, we are going to launch Charter 2.0. This is pretty exciting. It's been something that we've been working on for over a year. We've published it on social media. We've asked the world to contribute to changing some of the words. The original charter will stay as it is. We're really excited about the launch of this new charter. It's a charter for compassionate transformation from inner healing to planetary flourishing. And then the next, our big gala. This is our fundraiser for the year. We do it once a year, but it's a really important gathering of people because it's here that we give out the Karen Armstrong Humanitarian Awards. And as you might know, Karen Armstrong is the impetus behind the Charter for Compassion. This is our 8th annual gathering. And on Monday, our Monday, we'll announce who the 4 recipients are. They're really exciting. There's somebody from the world of entertainment, someone from a really young Indigenous person who is extraordinary, a very seasoned person who's coming to us as an author and a real exemplar in living a compassionate life. and then someone who, again, is an academic. So I'm not going to tell you who they are, but you should, if you're signed up as a member of the Charter for Compassion, you'll get an email within the next 36 hours telling you who they are and exactly what the program is going to be like. And then the last thing that we're really excited about, we started to work on it about a month ago, is that January 21, 22 of next year, we're going to have the Thrive Conference, United for Democracy and Global Action, and understanding that, you know, democracy doesn't just happen. We have to be involved in order for it to thrive. And so again, you know, take a look, think about how you might want to participate or even present during this conference. It's going to be very global. And just a few really quick other things that I think that you might want to be aware of. We've started a Substack, which is, and I don't know if people know about Substack as much. It was new to a certain extent when we started it 2 months ago. It's a social media presentation, and we've been posting a lot on it and getting a lot of responses. The other thing is that we have a very thriving, robust communication right now, something called bearing witness to the genocide that's going on in Gaza. And we have an ongoing program every week in this past month. It will continue beyond this month, but it was our effort in joining with other organizations to see what we could do to really assure that there was food being brought into Gaza, and also doing a campaign to raise money to support that. So always come to the homepage of the Charter for Compassion. It's kind of the roadmap for everything that we're doing. And we're so excited that Australia is continuing to have this National Day of Compassion, and look forward to enjoying and being challenged by all the things that are going to happen within this day. So thank you.
Many thanks, Marilyn. Thank you for all that activity and that's been going on at the global level, and it continues to be inspiration for all of us. I'll move on to our wonderful national ambassador for the Compassion for Charter in Australia, Hugh Mackay. Hugh, you're good to go to speak to us about compassion in action across this continent that we live on.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and good morning, everybody. Let me take you back a bit. 42,000 years ago, a catastrophic climatic event hit planet Earth, and it wiped out 4 of the 5 species of humans who'd been living on the planet for perhaps between 200,000 and 300,000 years. And the big puzzle that perplexed archaeologists and anthropologists and others for a very long time was, why did Homo sapiens alone among the 5 species of humans survive? Well, recently a group of British and German archaeologists believe they've found the answer. No, it wasn't that we had bigger brains or better cognition. It wasn't that we could run faster or that we were just lucky. What they have said is that we alone among the species of humans had developed the art of community life. There was evidence in the archaeological record of mutually supportive communities, sharing resources, caring for the sick. In fact, the conclusion that they came to in a paper written about this research was that it was our emotional vulnerability to each other that was our greatest strength. Isn't that a beautiful way of putting it? In other words, kindness and compassion were the magic ingredients that explains why we survived. So it seems to me that really broad perspective is important for our consideration today, because it's important to remind ourselves that kindness and compassion are actually survival skills. These are not just nice things to do. These are not just pleasant ways to be. This is the secret to how our species has survived and how our species will survive in the future. And it's important to remind ourselves about that, I think, in Australia, particularly at a time when our society is fragmenting and when social isolation has become our number one public health issue. What an extraordinary thing to have to admit about a society comprising members of this human species. Well, it's no secret why we've become more socially fragmented, why social isolation has become a major problem. There are many contributing factors. Our shrinking households, between 1 in 3 or 4 households in Australia now contain just one person. That's a strange way for social creatures to live. Our high rate of relationship breakdown, our increasing mobility. We're moving house on average once every 6 years. There's a lot of people moving in and out of neighbourhoods and getting to know or failing to get to know their new neighbours. Our busyness, our infamous busyness. Isn't it awful how, we greet each other. G'day, Jeff, how are you going? Busy? As though that's a virtue. As though if you weren't busy, you'd be letting the side down. We're forgetting that busyness is the enemy of social cohesion. It gets in the way of the time we need to spend with each other. And of course, another contributing factor has been our romance with information technology, that amazing development in human evolution, which has made us more connected than ever before and made it easier than ever before for us to stay apart from each other. And when we're seduced into thinking that connection via a screen-based device like this right now, to think that this is just like face-to-face human connection in incorporating eye contact, then we're making a huge mistake. It's not surprising, given the increasing rate of social isolation, the erosion of social cohesion. It's not surprising that Australia, like many Western societies, is suffering from loneliness, anxiety, and depression in epidemic proportions. And yet, today, all over Australia, millions of people are going to be performing acts of kindness and compassion for each other. Millions of people every day are being true to what Abraham Lincoln once very poetically described as the better angels of our nature. So when we contemplate a theme like compassion in action across the continent, it's important to get the focus right. This is not about some grandiose strategy for healing a wounded society. This is not about seeking government support, getting a minister for compassion and kindness appointed. No, compassion in action across the continent is a street-by-street challenge. The state of the nation that we all talk about in grand terms, the state of the nation starts in the street where you live. If you want to see a more compassionate Australia, don't wring your hands, don't just dream about it, act. Your smile, your greeting, your listening ear, your helping hand. Every act of compassion is transformative. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Hugh. Very inspiring, and a reminder that compassion always has and always will start at home, whatever we see as home. I'll move along in the very much the same thing, particularly around community connections, to introducing Maureen Sansom to share her thoughts. Maureen's from the Global Compassion Coalition, and she's the National Community Connectors Coordinator. Getting all those C's right, Maureen, if you could share with us for a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Global Compassion Coalition Compassion Connectors program, I'm really privileged to join all of you today and the Charter for Compassion on this our National Day of Compassion. So today, as a group of individuals, we join as a collective to celebrate compassion in action, united by our shared goal to create a more connected, caring and compassionate world. So as Hugh mentioned, we live in a society, and maybe not so much, but with systems that often values competition and individualism, which can result in disconnection, inequality, distress, anxiety, loneliness, and many other mental health issues. So connection and maintaining genuine, caring and compassionate relationships can be challenging for many of us. So even though we know such connections and compassion are vital for our well-being, that we know that many of us face challenges every day, but we're not meant to do it alone. We're not meant to do it apart. It's about coming together, and the greatest gift we do have is one another. So the Connectors program offers us a way to create a world where all people are valued and cared for. The Global Compassion, or the GCC, which is easy for us, we call it the GCC, offers a free self-paced online training program, plus resources to help anyone start their journey towards being a compassion connector. So please feel free to join the GCC's website and search for the Compassion Connectors program. So the Connectors program offers us a platform to work as either individuals or come together as a collective to create communities centered in reconnection, care and compassion. So regardless of the area of focus or passion that you're into, what you love, whether it's compassion in education, healthcare, gender equality or environmental sustainability, either individual and or collective efforts can contribute to establishing a more compassionate society. We know that compassion involves recognizing the suffering of self and others and having the motivation to alleviate that suffering through compassionate actions that arise from a mindset and an understanding of our common humanity, along with a sincere, heartfelt desire for kindness and care. It goes beyond mere sympathy and empathy. We know it involves taking practical initiatives such as offering support, attentive listening, or advocacy for individuals or causes. Our connectors are intentionally fostering care and kindness across various environments and contexts in our neighbourhoods or in our workplaces, schools, and across the broader community. They undertake heartfelt actions, small step after small step, that support and help others while cultivating a culture grounded in compassion for the well-being of all people in our communities. So these actions create positive ripple effects for everyone involved and can potentially improve our relationships with ourselves, each other, improve our health, our well-being and the quality of life. So our connectors meet online every month, and we're all here to support and encourage one another. So please contact us. We're all in this together, and we are dedicated to supporting your initiatives. So you can contact us at Australia at globalcompassioncoalition.org. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks very much, Maureen. And in the same vein again, particularly around local action, I'd like to ask Ben Kelly, Chair of the Compassionate Ballarat initiative that many of us have had close ties with originally through our great friend and Compassion Australia leader for some time in Lynne Reader. I'll mention her later. But if we can hear from you, Ben, about Compassionate Ballarat.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to come along. I'll just acknowledge the traditional owners of the land of which I am, the Wadawurrung people, and pay respects to elders past, present and future. Compassionate Ballarat's existed since 2017, and as you've mentioned, as many have mentioned, Dr. Lynne Reader, central to the establishment of Compassionate Ballarat, wind forward to 2025, and a number of members, Madonna Quixley, David Deutscher, Gemma Kelly, Mary Darcy, Mary Hollick, and Annie de Jong join me in our regular meetings to discuss opportunities for us to promote compassion across our community. The local Ballarat City Council signed the Charter of Compassion in 2019, which was a significant achievement for us, and we continue to collaborate with the local City Council, taking some inspiration from Kentucky and what they've been able to achieve. In 2024, Ballarat suffered a number of significant tragedies. Early 2024, fires, we saw a mine collapse, but what shook our community to the core was the death of 3 women, 2 at the hands of their partners. We saw marches in the streets pleading for change, asking for our community to behave differently. A very difficult time for us. We engaged with our local city council. They asked us what they should do. And our flagship project for 2024-2025 was a project named Seeds of Compassion. We wrote to local schools and we asked students for their wishes, what their wishes were for the future, particularly in the context of a difficult time for our community. And the inspiration that came from student wishes, from reaching out to young people, was phenomenal. We were able to establish a garden supported by the council where our wishes were celebrated. They were notionally converted to seeds, and we planted seeds and established gardens across our community and used it as an opportunity to engage with young people, to find the good in our community, of which there is much, as we've alluded to earlier, and to collaborate. We continue to celebrate the Seeds of Compassion project. Just last week, without politicising the issue, we did see a response from government and the launching of Respect Ballarat, which will see $1 million devoted to projects across our community focused upon eradicating gender-based violence in our community. And we see that as a goal for all of our nation, if not our globe. And Compassionate Ballarat stands with our community leaders, stands with our community as we seek to eradicate gender-based violence, family violence, and all of those things that tear our community apart, by focusing on the positive things, the strong things. And this is enabled by the leadership centrally provided by those who can make a difference, who have a voice. And that's what we stand with local leaders to achieve. Smaller projects we achieve, we sponsor the Ballarat Youth Awards each year. We've done that for 6 or 7 years, and that's a wonderful opportunity. Similarly, this year we look to see the establishment of a sleep bus to join our shower bus and our soup bus across our local community. So good things to do. We stand with you, focused on compassion for our globe. We know this will bring about better outcomes. The science tells us so. And I thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thanks very much, Ben. Much appreciated. And again, more examples of a compassionate on the ground and the grassroots, bottom up, all those good things. And great to hear of how much momentum there still is and is continuing in Ballarat. It's also my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Steindl, sorry, and Stan's amazing work that he does as a clinical psychologist by day, particularly around compassionate mind training, but particularly this topic that we've given him a mere 5 minutes for this morning, but I'm sure he's going to make the most of it. Imagine if compassion in action goes viral. Thanks, Stan.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I'm coming to you from Gubbi Gubbi country, Sunshine Coast area in Queensland, from the beautiful coastline all the way towards the hinterland. And so I acknowledge and appreciate the traditional owners of this land as well, where I live and work. But yes, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to imagine if compassion goes viral. Now, yes, I run a little YouTube channel, Compassion in a T-shirt. Here's the T-shirt, in fact, and trying to spread the word of compassion. And YouTube is a place that's obsessed with things going viral. We hear it all the time, the dream video taking off, thousands, maybe millions of people watching in just a matter of days. Viral is exciting, it's fast, it's flashy, it feels like you've really made an impact. I haven't had a video go viral yet, but like and subscribe, actually, now that I'm in front of you. But actually, here's the catch. Most viral things also disappear just as quickly as they arrive. A big burst of attention, and people move on. And I think actually compassion deserves something a bit different. What we want is not the quick blaze that then fizzles, but rather what in the YouTube world we call evergreen videos, content that endures, messages that people keep coming back to, practices that grow quietly, slowly, deeply, and continue to flourish long after the initial moment has passed. I do have some videos like that. For example, my interview with Dr. James Doty, who I'm sure many of you know, and who very sadly passed recently and is sorely missed, but whose work remains evergreen. And to further explain that, and to explain what I mean, I want to tell you something about what's just outside my window. These native violets. They're not that showy. They don't go viral in the garden. No big blooms that explode and then collapse. Instead, they just spread gently, steadily across the soil. They find their way into the gaps. They cover the bare patches. They stabilize the ground. And before you know it, they've created this carpet of green and purple that just keeps giving. They don't demand attention, but they create beauty and nourishment for the long term. And that's what compassion in action is like. A smile to a stranger, a moment of listening, a pause to care for ourselves when we're struggling. None of these things will necessarily go viral in that social media sense. They might not even trend or make headlines. But they spread person to person, moment to moment, like these native violets. They stabilize our community. They bring color and life to the places that might otherwise be bare and barren. And so yes, let's imagine compassion going viral, and it does. Think of those moments of widespread suffering when a community bands together in compassion. But even more than that, let's imagine compassion becoming evergreen. Slow, steady, strong, rooted in place, and spreading through our lives in a way that doesn't fade away when the next big thing comes along. If we can nurture that kind of compassion in action, then perhaps, like these violets, it will grow beneath our feet, quietly, persistently, beautifully, and transform the ground that we all share. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Stan. And I'm sure many of those things, if not all, will go viral, and already have to some extent. Thank you for those thoughts and contribution. Just sticking with the momentum and that we are coming up fast on the end of this initial hour, but just would like Community Connector Helen Murphy. Helen, if you could just take us through what's coming up for the remainder of the day, and some just maybe bringing our attention to contributions that are going to, I'm sure, be of interest to all. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, Stan. I'm feeling a little flooded with the good juices right now. And it's a wonderful thought, evergreen compassion that keeps giving. Well, what a fabulous and inspiring lineup we've got today. Everyone we'll be hearing from reminds us how much compassionate action is going on around the place, which we can tune into whenever we feel we want to get the good juices, or perhaps are feeling vulnerable in response to all the suffering we experience in the world. So how the day will work is we will be putting up recorded interviews and sessions and events on the hour in Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then have a break, a short break in between, and where we are in Australia, we'll have an extended break at about 1 o'clock for lunch, coming back at 2. So just to run you through what we've got coming up at 9, Australian Eastern Standard Time, Terry will be interviewing Nathan and Auntie Pam Wells on walking on country. At 10 o'clock, we do have an apology. We did have programmed a discussion about Toowoomba, International Day of Peace. We will be endeavouring, or the Charter will be endeavouring to put that up at a later date, so apologies for that. Instead, however, Terry is going to be interviewing Dr. Samar Uwan. Apologies to everybody's name who I might mispronounce as I go through the agenda. Founder and chair of Compassionate Communities Australia, talking about outcome-focused research on end-of-life care and mobilising community networks. Then Terry at 11 will interview Yoshio Mokazuki, who and Heidi Unverdorben regarding peace polls in Japan and Oceania. We will have the Brisbane Threshold Singers leading us into lunch with a musical item, and that will be coming into 12 noon. And then as we come back from our break, they will lead us back as well, as I understand the program. Then at 1 o'clock, there will be a recording of my interview with Stan. And we'll be talking about a little bit more about the compassion going viral question, but also compassion in a t-shirt and a whole lot of other exciting things that Stan's getting up to. At 2 o'clock, Maureen's interview with Matt Hawkins on compassionate connectors at a global level. And then at 3, we have a recorded session that Maureen facilitated with the Australian Compassion Connectors, talking, having a sort of discussion about ways that we experience compassionate action and things that we're doing in our communities. At 4 o'clock, we have a reflective workshop with a little bit of opportunity for creativity. So Alison Turner from WA will be taking us through an exercise, My Compassionate Self-Portrait. And at 5, Michael Bartura will be offering us a fireside review and reflection, insights from AI, learnings and listening from the day, and steps that we can take going forward. Now, there are also some other events coming up after that, which you would need to register separately for, and I believe there will be information coming through the day about that. We have What Do Faith Leaders Need to Know About the Australian Arms Trade from 5 until 6:15. There's the UN Peace Day Meditation Vigil from 6:30 to 7:30, with the in alignment with the UN theme for this year, Act Now for Peace. And also mention that Pachamama Alliance Global Day of Listening is today, and people across the world will pause, alone or together, to listen for wisdom needed for this very moment, as we turn our attention to the earth, to one another, and to what life is asking of us. So I think that runs us through the day.
Many thanks, Helen. That's terrific. And just to round off this first opening hour, I'd like to welcome gifted therapist and teacher, Michael Batura, also a member of the Australian Compassion Council, for Michael just to share some compassion self-learning, if you like, with us. Michael, if you're there, please.
Thank you. I'm also aware that we're about, I think, 8 or 9 minutes behind schedule, so I might do a very compassionate revision of the of the process that I was going to do. And we'll just sort of close our eyes, if you may, for 1 minute. And notice how when you breathe, you can increase your breath by extending your stomach every time you breathe in. So as you breathe in, you allow your stomach to distend. And as you breathe out, just allow it to relax. Don't need to contract it, just gently relaxing towards your spine. And very slowly increase the out breath just a tad. So as you breathe in, you might breathe in for the count of 4. And as you breathe out to the count of 6. And from that sense of peace that descends on you just by activating the parasympathetic nerve system, shift your attention to your heart and imagine that you're breathing in and out through your heart area. And for a short moment, amidst all the beautiful words and the heartfelt thoughts, give yourself a sense of compassionate marinate in compassion. For our busy life, for the people who are suffering, and for a world that might be confusing but still struggling to find its way forward and evolve. And when you feel ready, just open your eye gently. And I'll hand it back to Jeff.
Thank you, Michael. Very necessary. Really appreciate it. And appreciate everyone's contribution to this morning, even if it might have just simply been listening, but to hear so many inspiring stories as a lead-in to the rest of the day of compassion in action. I did just want to, in terms of just finalising the MC role into this session, draw attention to an agreement that was reached at our September Australian Compassionate Council meeting to proceed with 3 separate awards for real leaders in this space. Certainly one that's been mentioned this morning in the form of Lynne Reader, but the actual processes for these awards and the timing is still to be undertaken, and but they certainly they'll proceed on an annual basis. But we want involvement as much as we can from the 3 women, three people that we're recognising with these awards. So that is Dr. Lynne Reader, and that'll be a Compassion Award. Dr. Debbie Ling, and that'll be a Compassion and Common Humanity Award. And then Dr. Crosweller, and that'll be a Compassion and Wisdom Award. And we feel between those 3 awards in those people's honour, we have those 3 core components to the Compassion Council's work. That is common humanity, compassion, and wisdom. So I think we're all excited and by that, and then the potential that it already has to engage a whole lot of more Australians and the Australian community in terms of the bestowing those awards. And we already have had wonderfully compassionate responses from Lynne, Debbie, and Mark for the appreciation for these awards being stumped up, and we really hope that this continues to be a real growth area. So I'll finish there, and maybe Terry, if there's anything you want to add before we kick things off at 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you everybody that's participated in this first hour. It's been inspirational in all sorts of ways. And Michael, thank you for stilling us and bringing compassion to ourselves as the core from which compassion radiates out to others. Thank you, Stan and Hugh, for your inspiring input. And to Maureen, it's a great privilege with the Australian Compassion Council to be partnering with the Global Compassion Coalition this year. As Helen says, we do have a great program lined up, and I'll be hosting that program through recorded interviews. And at the end of the day, Michael will guide us in any reflection. If you have registered, you can drop in and out to any of the sessions that you wish through the day. They're all free, and in due course they will all be uploaded. So the kind of digital evergreen niche-ness of what we've done today, what we've shared today, and some of the stories and links will be available into the future. Thank you so much for being a part of our 5th National Day of Compassion. We celebrate the compassion in action that's happening across the planet. We thank you for your role in it, and we encourage you, as Hugh Mackay has suggested, that it starts with us and in our streets, and that ultimately it does make a difference, even if we only see those little glimmers at times amidst everything else that's happening. So thank you. Please join us shortly and throughout the day as you're able. If not, watch online subsequently. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, everyone.